here.
Well, okay, so we'll start.
Make me look smart.
Super smart. Like, this is gonna be like top of the line here. Okay, with the background, I need like Godzilla in the back. All right.
Start our own podcast.
That's what's happening right now. Your first in line here.
Perfect.
Let's do it. So my name's Kelly Quijano. This is the one and only Charlie Pritchett. I wanted to come today for a few different things, Charlie. I know, well, first of all, I'll introduce you, right? You're a black belt through Detroit Jiu-Jitsu. You've been rolling now for
15 years.
15 years.
Yep.
You know, you are super talented. You compete literally all over the world. You've done some incredible things, an amazing teacher. And on top of that, you know, you're a dad to 2 little ones, you're a husband, you got a beautiful wife, and you're an entrepreneur, so you got your own business and everything. So, you know, I wanted to sit down and talk to you because that's a lot. A lot of people don't realize, and even from me as an outsider, really the kind of going through hell that you've gone through, and the stuff that you've come through, and your mental fortitude, and really the person that you are. And I know from the outside, I've always been a big supporter of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I wanted to just sit down and really kind of pick your brain about a few different things, and then talk about the upcoming fight that you got coming up.
Please do, because no one can ever get me to shut up.
So you know, I want to kind of back up, just even today, or this year, we were just talking earlier about. I didn't realize that. So one of the things that I watched when you were with the WXC submission, right? Going into that. So I didn't even realize you were hurt going into that as well, because one of the things that I really found pretty amazing sitting from the backside is not only do you have a business, you're climbing trees all day long. So not even like a sit at a computer tree. Like, you're running your own business. You are opening a gym. You have a pregnant wife, and she just had a baby, like what, 3 or 4 weeks before your match, right?
Yeah.
And then you went in and whooped ass. It's pretty incredible. So can you really kind of explain to me how you built that mental fortitude and what's been important in your life?
I mean, it stems all the way back to my childhood, because when I was young, I fell off a Ferris wheel when I was 11 years old from the top of a Ferris wheel and broke like a lot of bones. And had to spend time in bed, spend time in a wheelchair, and had my soccer dreams ripped away from me at a very young age. So that's adversity is something I've always faced. I mean, there's a million stories of adversity I've faced over the years. So it's just been a process of building, and then jiu-jitsu is also helping with it so much of getting away from just thinking about all the things that are wrong, like jiu-jitsu, what am I doing wrong, and just thinking about the things I need to do to improve the situation I'm in, and also with taking on such a big load, it's like the jiu-jitsu and the tree climbing, that's the stuff I used to try to get out of work to go and do, so the fact that I get paid and I have to show up and do it every day, it doesn't feel like work, everybody always says that, but it doesn't feel like work to me at all. I mean, I would do it for free if money was no issue. I would just teach jiu-jitsu and climb trees all the time, so it doesn't feel like I'm pushing through. I mean, obviously sometimes where I'm just completely burnt, and I gotta just put on the face and go for it. But most times I really don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm playing, And then when it comes to mental fortitude, I would be taking way too much credit to say that I built it myself. So much of it comes from my dad. My dad is one of the most mentally strong people you'll ever meet, and he lives in a 1-room apartment with a spoon, a fork, and knife, and a bowl and a plate, and he lays out a blanket and sleeps on it, and rolls it up in the morning. And I got him running when he was 60, and he went from running a mile to running 88 miles in 24 hours, and he's done 20 or something ultra marathons, and so much of my life has been built from him. He's built my character, and I mean, every night at practice we're saying Doug-isms. We call him Doug-isms. His name's Doug. It used to always just be so hard on us in a good way, isn't it? But that's where so much of my mental fortitude comes from. It is honestly from him. Never ever let me take it easy or be soft. Even when I fell off the Ferris wheel, I was 11 years old, and he came right in the hospital. It's like, you can swear all you want, just don't cry. Which I don't know, that's also not maybe beneficial for me emotionally, but it gave me some strength in the time, and trust me, as an 11-year-old, I let out every swear word there was. But he was always like that, One of the things he used to always ask is, do you want to be a man or a mouse, And I used to always say a mouse, and I say that in class all the time. What do you think everybody always says to me? Mouse. But that's where most of my mental fortitude comes from, is just the level he's always pushing me to, you know?
So what about your habits? Like, what are you, would you say, are your top 2 to 3 habits that you've built? Like that mental aspect of it, we know you have it. Like some of the things that you do, just like, it really impresses me.
Yeah.
But then what about, like, is there any daily habits that you really dive into that you think have really changed your life?
Yeah, well, I have, one of them that's been a staple in my life for years and has helped me, like, overcome so much depression and stuff like that, and that's the use of sauna and the opposite side of ice baths and, like, some breathing techniques to help handle it. But that's a staple of my success, is putting myself through, beneficial stress, so that I'm always training that. And, like, the breathing and stuff, when it comes to handling the cold and the heat, transfers over so well into just regular stress. And in yoga we call it equanimity, of just like being non-reactive to things, and it's a habit. If I went back at 18-year-old me and looked at me now, I'd be like, wow, this guy is the most calm, balanced dude I could ever imagine. I still have a long way to go, but from where I was when I was 18, I've just learned to just be able to breathe things away and, like, have equanimity. Don't react to it, even if it is something that bothers me. And then the other one is something I've picked up recently, maybe in the last 6 months, and it's sugar. Eat a lot of sugar, purposefully. And there's a ton of science you can look up on it. Ray Peat is a guy who does a lot of research on it, but I mean, healthy amounts of sugar before and after training to keep my energy levels up and stress levels low.
Certain types of sugars?
My go-to right now, no, table sugar. I mean, when you're training this hard, a lot of times the body's not going to say, oh, this is peach and this is apple and this is table sugar. It literally goes right to the brain. It's brain food, And I have some super smart friends on Facebook who always argue with every diet thing I ever post, and then I started posting the sugar stuff, and they were like, oh, now you're onto something. So there's my confirmation bias. But no, 4 tablespoons of table sugar and a big glass of organic milk right before bed has been like my staple for probably 5 or 6 months now, and I feel amazing. And all my guys are looking at me like, really? I mean, 10 round Tuesday, I'm drinking root beer and eating gummy bears during class, but I'm also training. We're training in the morning, climbing trees all day. We're training at night, going home and running around with the kids. So, like, it's not just, I wouldn't recommend it to someone who's just going to sit on the couch and watch TV or whatever, but for my level of output, it helps keep my stress low and give me energy. I know it does. And even if it's placebo, I don't care. I'll keep doing it. Yeah. It's working so well for me.
Well, that's interesting, because I did want to talk to you about stress and really how you manage all of it, because look, we've talked about, you have a lot of things going on right now, from owning your own business to having the gym now to in all of those things in your family. How do you say it's the hardest time is the kids under 5.
Oh yeah.
It's exhausting.
Harder for the mom than the dad. I will admit that, but still.
It's still very difficult,
very
right?
difficult and time consuming.
Yeah, and people don't realize, too, the amount of stress that you put yourself through to compete.
Oh, 100%.
Like, there's just so much put on your shoulders every time you step on that mat. So how do you manage it?
It really isn't easy, and I'll tell you, like, on the surface, everybody looks like they're doing a great job of it, and I'm totally transparent about it. Like, I have my own mental health issues, diagnosed bipolar, diagnosed ADHD, and I have more of a reason than anybody to fall into the pit of depression and stress, but developing those coping mechanisms has been so huge for me. I mean, it used to be you get hit with this depression or this or that, and it's just like, you do all the depression things. You stop eating, you start listening to sad music, you lay in your bed, and you really just own it. But once I learned those coping mechanisms, it was like, no, you fill that up with ice water and you sit in it, and I promise you, it has physiological effects. All the feel-good hormones go up, inflammation goes down, and whether you want to or not, you feel better, So the coping mechanisms are huge. But I would tell you, when you're down, getting yourself out of that bed and even into a warm shower isn't easy, So it really does, one, take an element of, like, the opposite of the love yourself movement, in my opinion, where I really have to just be so hard on myself and be like, get your ass out of the bed and get in that ice bath, and no excuses. I don't take excuses from other people. Why would I take them from myself? Do it. That's a part of it, but the other part is the support. My wife is as rock solid as they come. And she might only be 4'9", 95 pounds, but she's a giant, you know? I mean, she's learned yoga in India, she's a 500-hour yoga teacher, and she never, ever, ever lets me, she knows how to comfort me, don't get me wrong, but she never, ever, ever lets me, like, lay off. She knows who I am, she knows what I'm capable of, and she will demand it from me. And I almost didn't do that last match that I did. I was just like, I'm not in the mood to compete, and she looked me dead in the eyes and was just like, are you serious? Listen to yourself. I'm like, what? I like tried to justify it. She's like, I hear you every night telling these guys how you gotta go out there and test your jiu-jitsu. Win or lose, no one cares. Go test your jiu-jitsu. And then she called me a word that egged me on, you know, and that's why I signed up for it. And then I was, like you said, that weight of the tournament, you see your name on there, you look up your opponent, you're like, why am I doing this? I'm never doing this again. And then she was even like, I'm sorry for pushing you to do this. I can see, I didn't know like the week before it gets like this, and you're like this zeroed in on it, and all you care about is winning, you know. And then, you know, after the match, she's like, I'm so glad I told you to do this, you know what I'm saying? And it's always like that, win or lose, you're always like, oh, when's the next one? But that's a big part of it. The support system is so huge. You gotta have that, you know. And I know a lot of people don't.
How do you deal up to the match? Because I know that has always been a big thing, and that's been a big change, you know, competing for me the last couple of years, is learning to deal with the emotions that come with competing. What do you typically do?
Visualization, big time, especially the week of the match. I mean, I don't know if it's good for me or not, but I will literally think of every scenario that could possibly happen in the match. That way, when they happen, I'm not thrown off. And I've competed so much. I competed like 3 days into training. I had an MMA fight in the cage, and like my competition started from day one, pretty much. I rolled one time on a blanket in the backyard. 3 days later, I was fighting a cage match. So it's like I've developed that competition thing. I was a competitor as sports as a kid, but yeah, so much of it is visualization. Like this last match, I literally sat in my kitchen till 1 o'clock every morning and stood there with my hand raised, and I sat there and I thought about hitting the slide by and the foot sweep, and smothering him till he got out, and then I was gonna arm bar him, but he didn't make it past the smother. You know, like I lined that stuff up for a week straight, and I already know I'm gonna do to you too. So I hope you're watching. But yeah, I visualize it. I really try to know the things that can happen, and when it goes your way, you're like, oh yeah, you get all this energy. When it doesn't go your way, definitely knocks you off center, but I feel like both competitors are doing the same thing. It's who shows up and who has the day, what they visualize is going to happen. And so many people, especially at the lower belts, they beat themselves before they ever even get out on the mats. All they do is think about how this could go wrong, and they could look stupid, and they're going to get their guard pass and flying armbar, and what happens?
And they manifest it.
Yeah, and I heard John Danaher say, like, most of the times when you get your guard pass, it's not the person passing your guard, it's you making mistakes that's letting them get past, you know? And I feel like that's big time for competition. Like, so many times people are just defeating themselves before even giving their jiu-jitsu a fair shot. And then you see it where both people are doing that and nothing happens in the whole match. It's just like, you guys aren't even, it doesn't look like they're even trying, you know? Because they think they're gonna lose. They both think they're gonna lose. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I also want to kind of talk too, because you do a lot. Like you're like we were talking about, your job is so physical. You now have a gym. You train constantly. So what is your kind of main things that help to keep you healthy? I know we talk
sugars, but calories, man. Like it's not as simple as input output, but you have to be in a calorie surplus if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff, or you at least can't be in a deficit, because your body will get the new sugar too. You avoid sugar, you get less calories. Your body will get that from somewhere. It's just a different process, and usually it's catabolizing muscle, which is gonna that match in the cage, I was 167 pounds because I couldn't eat. I was just like, go, and telling myself I can do that, but it's not sustainable, you know?
Do you ever cut anymore, or do you typically?
No, no, I haven't cut actually since MMA. I will always like try to build bulk up, basically.
Yeah, it always seems like you're rolling with bigger people.
Yeah.
Is that typically?
Well, I think people, because I'm taller too, people always think I'm heavier. You know, like they invited me to that 200-pound tournament, and I'm like, sure, I'm 165, and I was like, if they were gonna weigh us in, I was like, I had a jacket there, and was like planning on.
They're not gonna let you. You're too little.
Yeah, so planning on being as close to 200 pounds as I could, but I got manhandled by Brad Schneider. Actually, I got manhandled by all three of my opponents. It was the first time I was like, whoa, these dudes are way stronger than me. you know, because I have like natural wiry strength, but these guys were like bigger and stronger than me. And then I had a match with Emil Fisher where it's just felt like the same thing, so much stronger than me. So I went home that night limping on a hurt ankle and was like squats and just started. I took 3.5 weeks off of work and I squatted every single day and just started putting on weight and knew what I had to do. And it's been really effective. But like it's always like a post-mortem thing too. You have to like go through these processes and then look back and be like, what could I do better now? You know, and it's not always about being super prepared. It's about doing the things and failing and then covering up those holes, you know. So that, and same thing with jiu-jitsu. I always tell people like the more you roll and the more reps you do, the more chances you can do it wrong and figure that out. You know, if you do 3 perfect reps or you do 30 just reps, you're gonna learn more from the 30 reps of doing it right, wrong, here and there than you will from doing those 3 perfect ones, because they never go like that, you know. So that's kind of how I think about it.
So if you had to totally strip down your training regimen and only had, so you'd have your jiu-jitsu drilling and you only have one golden nugget that you could do besides that, what would you do?
Roll.
Just
I wouldn't even drill. I'd get rid of the drilling completely and just roll. We roll a lot. That's one of the things I loved when I joined Detroit Jiu-Jitsu. Some of the other schools I had been at, it would be like an hour and 15 minutes of 7, 8 moves, strings, chains. This is what happens on the feet. If they do this, you do this, and it almost became, and I see this in yoga too, it becomes more like the instructor trying to show you how much they know rather than really getting you to learn jiu-jitsu. And when I went to Detroit, it was like we would roll for 45 minutes before class. And then Danny would show just like 15 minutes of a very nuanced position. Like we're in half guard and they're trying to do this, and we're clearing that and getting to here. And we just do that for 15 minutes and then it's back to rolling. And it like, man, it skyrocketed for me. And I was always like, when I open my gym, this is how I'm gonna do it. And at first I was like, geez, this is a lot of rolling, you know what I'm saying? And not like a ton of drilling like everyone's used to. So I was like kind of trial and error, but 2 months into it, everyone was like getting so good, you know, and like you only really attach to a couple things anyway. You could learn 100 moves, it doesn't mean you're gonna do them all. You'll probably find 3 or 4 and then it's, oh, this works really well for me. So I found that like teaching one thing, like for example, October we did crucifix for all of October, and then people can really learn that position, and they, after the month of October, it's like they go home with the crucifix puzzle piece, you know, and then the next month we do this and they get another one. And then after a year goes by, they're like, oh shoot, all 3 of these connect, you know? And I just feel like it's a much better way than just trying to show them as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. It does. So, you know, if there are people out there that are interested in getting into competition and that are, you know, you always hear people, you know, I want to do it, but that fear, that anxiety that's associated with competing, really starts to hold them back. Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah. In my school, I tell everybody the 4th tournament, I have to see what your jiu-jitsu looks like, test it. Not just in the gym with guys you train with all the time. I want to see what happens when you're out of your element in a place with everybody watching and this person's attacking you. It might not go well, and that's fine. And I always encourage people that it's like, look, you come to class, you roll with a dude who's 100 pounds more than you roll with brown belts, black belts, you roll 9 times in a night, you get tapped 100 times. The only thing that's worse about going and getting tapped on a Saturday at a tournament is you paid $100 to do it. That's all that, you're gonna get tapped 1 or 2 times by someone your weight, skill, and age. So it's like, really all of your fears are nonsense. And then the other thing I always remind people of, and when I got this in my head, it changed my competition. To be so nervous and all this, and then I had this aha moment that, wait a minute, my competition feels like this too. My competition can't sleep the night before and doesn't know what to eat the next morning and is freaking out and is nervous. And once I realized that, it took so much of the pressure off me, because I was like, okay, if I can chill out and they're not chilling out, I'm gonna do well. So like, just reminding beginners that like everybody feels like that, you know. And if you trust your coaches, you show up and do what they showed you, you will do well. You know what I'm saying? So I always encourage people to compete, and in my school, you have to compete at every belt level. Simple as that. Or you can be a white belt forever, I don't care. That's cool too. I know those guys.
No, I love it. I think that the amount of growth that you can get from a competition, there's nothing touches.
Oh, I would say it's like training for a month.
Yeah.
Win or lose, you come back and you're just like, I wish I could put into words what it does for you, but you just come back totally renewed. It's partially just the confidence. A couple of my guys I've seen go and come back, and it's just like they're a whole new grappler, you know. And yeah, a lot. We medaled at every tournament we went to. A couple firsts, couple seconds, couple thirds, and like seeing some of these guys who came in, you know, with a year's experience and were doing very well when they came in, to now like beating good guys in tournament is it's so invigorating. I get so excited about it, you know. They do too. They're hyped. You know, I had one of my guys tell me like, if I would have stayed where I was at, I'd be a blue belt right now, and I would suck, honestly. You know, he's like so thankful he came. He's still a white belt, and we're going through the process as hard as it may be, because I don't water it down. I'll see guys walking in and be like, oh God, this is going to be terrible for them. You know, one of them was 6'8", 330-pound guy. He walked in the door with his buddy, and I'm just like, oh, this poor guy. He was like 45. This is going to be so tough, because I'm not going to water it down. You can rest, you saw the warm-up, you can rest, you can chill, but I'm not watering it down. And I always give everybody a speech when they join me that this jiu-jitsu is for anyone who wants to do it, but it is not for everyone. Yeah. You can't take someone who is not meant to do this and get them to like it. You gotta be a certain kind of crazy to just want to do this all the time, you know? And that guy, bless his heart, came right in and just off to the races. He's lost almost 40 pounds, and the smile on his, it's changed his life, you know? And that's why I do it. He's learning real jiu-jitsu, you know? This guy is gonna be very, very tough, not just get promoted, you know? So.
Well, I gotta say, after even 15 years on the mat, I'm almost always wrong about who I think is gonna stick with it.
Oh, me too.
It's incredible,
yeah,
right?
100%. I had a guy.
Like you, I don't know. He's gone.
I had a guy, he came to the gym and called the hobo chef, he called himself. And he came in and was like, I am literally so scared to be here. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I maybe should just walk out. I'm like, don't do that. We've all been there. Come in. And I guess when I went to the bathroom, he told everybody, like, he doesn't think I'm coming back tomorrow. He's like, I'm coming back tomorrow. I was like, cool, can't wait to see you. I went to the bathroom and told everybody, he doesn't think I'm coming back tomorrow. He came back tomorrow, he signed up for 3 months, and then he put in, I think, 71 days out of 90 days. And went from literally having no idea what's going on and being scary to roll with because he was like so strong and scrappy, to like, now he's super strong and scrappy and will tap you out, like knows what he's doing a little bit. So he's going to be competing in December. Man, good luck anybody who's in his division, that age group, because he's tough as nails, you know, he just doesn't know it yet.
Well, speaking of competitions, I gotta say, this is probably one of my most excited I've been for a match, is to see you and Will face off against each other.
I know he is too. We talked on Facebook because I posted a picture of me eating freaking 4 pounds of food, and Will's like, I'm over here eating oatmeal and chia seeds, and I was like, yeah, I was already laughing, thinking about us eating in the opposite direction, trying to get somewhere in the middle. I'm trying to get bigger, he's trying to get leaner. Me and Will have a ton of respect for each other, and he's just like one of the best competitors to ever come out of Michigan, and like I feel like it's just cool to be put in the mix with guys like that, you know. So I'm super excited. And
talk to us a little bit about how you're preparing for it and really what we should expect in 2 weeks.
You should expect to see 2 dudes with maximum heart rate the whole entire time, unless Will can slow me down. But I'm going to go from minute 1 to minute end, trying to drown both of us, and whoever can swim better is going to win. Last week I put in 30 hours of mat time, hard training every single day, competitions, classes in Detroit, and then coming back and training at home 3-4 times in a day sometimes. Skipping work, barely making ends meet so I can whoop this guy. But yeah, literally just like dog training. And then obviously my specifics and stuff like that, but I feel like I'm at a level right now where it's just like I have to be in the best shape and ready for anything, you know? Me and Will have a similar game. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. And he's tough, you know, Will's super tough and super crafty too. But I feel supremely confident when I faced this last guy, man. My buddy called me and was like, dude, he's got a Wikipedia. Like, that's a big bonus for us or whatever. But he's just like friggin' huge, wins in the UFC. I knew he was tough. And at some point in my warm-up, I just clicked, like, it doesn't matter who he is, what he can do, what he's done. What matters is what I plan on doing, what I've done, and what I know I can do. So just totally, like, getting in that mindset of like, I don't care who's put in front of me, I'm gonna feel the same and perform the same. Now, if it's Bushesha, the outcome might be different, but I'm still gonna do all the same stuff instead of just like crumbling under the pressure, you know. So, and that last match was a huge bump up for me in that respect, of where I got like way more confident in that, of like, you can put anybody in front of me and I'll hang, you know. So, yeah.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm very ecstatic for it. I think it's going to be a wonderful night all across the board. But that is what I'm looking forward to.
I know.
That's why it's the main event.
That's why it's the main event.
Everyone's excited for that.
To see people like super excited to see the match or whatever. Like that made me feel so good. I also like jiu-jitsu to be exciting. I would rather lose an exciting match than win a boring one. You know, like. To me, ultimately, it was always supposed to be art and cool and fun and awesome to watch, and not like. That's why no one wants to do gi anymore. I hate to say it, it's not nearly as fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know, but I love doing it. I love gi for that respect. But I see some of these cards where it's like there'll be a couple gi matches, and you're like, oh my gosh, barely here. But the no gi comes on, you're like, oh, this is like a fight.
It's the play for point system, and we've had some arguments. But
Kelly loves the gi.
I like no. Actually, I started no gi.
Well, I have to say I'm a little like upset with the community because I started no gi because of MMA. I was like, I don't need the gi because I'm an MMA fighter. So for 3 years I did no gi. And everyone was like, dude, you gotta do the gi. The grips are so intricate and you're gonna be so good. So I got really good at the gi and I developed a really good worm guard. And right when I got really good with worm guard at brown belt, everyone's like, oh dude, screw the gi, no gi is where it's at. It's all about the street and MMA. And I'm like, that's what I was saying as a baby little white belt. So, but I had no problem in taking my gi off and doing some no gi. But I do love the gi and I will never stop doing it. You know?
I'm in the same way. I like the balance of the both for sure.
I like doing gi way more. I like watching no gi. It's so exciting.
That is interesting. I agree with you on that.
It's similar to wrestling, and there's just so much more action because you can't be held still.
Exactly.
You know, it makes sense. But they need, at these tournaments, they need like the biggest mats possible. That's one thing it's driving me nuts. It's just like, how can they go out of, or make some penalization for out of bounds, or some reward for pushing your opponent out of bounds so that it becomes an
wrestling style, get a point.
Yeah, it's just like the mats are way too small for what's going on.
Well, and then a lot of the time too, you only have 5 minutes to work.
Yeah.
5 minutes is a very short time. You can
100%.
easily jump out of bounds on you pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's some people's
Been there
strategy.
this year, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gotta know, I won't keep you much longer, but I do need to know, what is your favorite jiu-jitsu story? What's your favorite story that really kind of sums up why you love jiu-jitsu so much?
Of my journey.
Of your journey.
Oh man, it's got to be going to Japan. I was working at a place and they didn't like how much jiu-jitsu I was doing. I was working at a gym and they were like, you need to choose jiu-jitsu or this. And I was like, well, that's a pretty easy decision. Jiu-jitsu, like, do you want me to put in my 2 weeks or grab my stuff right now? So I like grabbed my stuff and left and walked outside, and I really wanted to go to Japan for this tournament. And I just took a real leap of faith and made a GoFundMe and was like, you know, if I can raise $1,000, I'll match everybody. I was so nervous to do it because I just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like weird, you know, like asking people for help in any sort of way. So I'll do 1,000 if people can match 1,000 in like in a week and a half. I had $3,000 on there. Like so many people just like reached out to me and said like the nicest things. So I shut it down, went to Japan with $3,000 in my pocket and just like no itinerary, stayed in a different Airbnb every night, trained 2-3 times a day and won the tournament. And it was just like, it was so legendary. Oh man, I made some lifelong friends there, and like, I was just looking at tickets to Japan today because I got to go back. It was definitely like an immersive experience for me, you know. They treated me like they didn't even speak English. I said os more times than anything I ever said in my life. I was like walking on os. But like they treated me like a brother, and they didn't even know, they couldn't even understand what I was saying, most of them, you know. So it's like, it was really cool to see that it's universal, the jiu-jitsu is, you know.
Well, I mean, it does show. Like I said when we first started, like I've always been a supporter from you from far, and it's because you are what a black belt is supposed to be. On the mat, your technique, we were lucky enough to have you here. I appreciate that. That was a wonderful class. But also who you are, what you stand for, and really who you've become. That is what a black belt is supposed to be. So, I want to just say I appreciate that. I love that you're here in Michigan, and I like the fact that, Nick is starting to bring all these people together, all this talent that's around here, and being able to see it,
really cool.
just blossom, and be able to meet all you guys, and to be able to just really, I just appreciate the technique and all of your knowledge and everything like that. So, I just wanted to tell you face to face, I see the mountains you climb, and I am so impressed. I'm so impressed.
That some people see it, because a lot of times you feel like you're just doing it all in silence or by yourself or whatever, but honestly, to know that someone recognizes all the work I put in and what I'm doing, it really does mean a lot to me. And then being asked to come out and show people my stuff, and then seeing the 19 people or something in the class tonight doing it, it's just I just can't explain how good it feels. It's one thing to hit the submission yourself and learn something that feels good, but to watch 19 people do it and figure it out, see the gleam in their eyes when they see that move they've never seen before, it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, you can tell you're chasing your passion.
Yeah, thank you.
And, it's motivating, because on the other side of those long days that you think are, sometimes pointless. And
gotta remind yourself of these ones where it's just so worth it. And I'll come out anytime you guys want to do this. I would love to come out.
Yeah, I appreciate
Especially to kick Adam's ass.
Well, I cannot wait. You guys make sure you join in November 19th. Starts at 4. And we got a whole night of matches going on. And he is going to end it with
A W.
Yeah.
Bring it, Will. Let's go.
We got team tournament, 3
excited
super
for that.
fights. Should be good.
I'm excited for the team thing. That's a really cool format.
Yeah.
So there'll be.
Cool idea we came up
I
with.
got 3 tough purple belts coming. It's
You can't wait to see it. There's going to be so much talent on those mats.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
They're excited.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.